Hello and welcome to part 5 in my series of videos on a sacrificial site in Jämtland in northern Sweden. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the world pillar and the world tree. This conception exists within both the Old Norse religion and mythology as well as the Sami religion and mythology. In the Old Norse context it's called Yggdrasil, and in the Sami religion, or in the Sami sources rather, it's called Mailmen Stytto or Vearden Cholt. So these forces, these pillars or trees, are what binds the cosmos together and what supports it and what makes it not fall apart. And in a ritual context, scholars have suggested that a tree can be a representation of this cosmic tree. So whenever there seems to be ritual activity around a single tree, it is believed that it's maybe a microcosmical representation of the macrocosmical world tree or world pillar. And an often cited account of one of these ritual settings where the tree is a sort of focal point for sacrificial cult is the account of Adam of Bremen, who in 1070 wrote an account about the sacrificial cult in Uppsala in modern-day Sweden. And he tells us that the people here in Sweden, they sacrificed a lot of animals and also humans, and they hung them in a tree, and he describes how the tree and how this was sort of the focal point of the sacrificial cult. And so this type of cult would have been a public cult, and it would have been a major event for the people living there. Both commoners and aristocracy would have get together, most likely at set dates of the year. So there's the calendric aspect to this public cult. And apart from being setting sort of the religious agenda for the time, it also worked to maintain the societal structures. It had a great social meaning and importance in pre-Christian times. And it was also tied to legal activity, the thing, the Scandinavian sort of court or parliament even. And also to commercial activity, like they would have a market or a fair and they would trade. So, and one example of one of these markets that also have legal and cultic connotations is the Distingsmarknad in Uppsala, which is attested from way back in medieval times, but is believed to be actually perhaps part of what Adam of Bremen described in the 11th century. And this Distingsmarknad has a parallel in Jämtland in the form of something called Jämtamot, which is also attested in medieval sources as a market activity combined with legal activity. Now, the oldest sources are after Jämtland was Christianized, so it doesn't say anything about cultic activity, but scholars have suggested that due to its great likeness with what happened in Uppsala, it is likely that in pre-Christian times it was also tied to cultic activity. And both of these markets and things happened in the springtime, and originally probably around summer nights, which is the start of the summer quarter of the year. And as you remember, this time in spring is one time where the cultic activity or the sacrificial activity on Frösön seems to have had a peak according to the osteological analysis and the seasonal indicators. So and the Sami also have a conception about this world tree, and in the Sami religion it is also often the focal point of a sacrificial cult. And now this pillar or tree may be in the form of a crafted image of the god, or just a pillar, or a tree turned upside down. And in the Sami, the sources to Sami religion and mythology from the 1600s and 1700s, there are things that point to this world pillar being tied to their fertility god. And this fertility god was called Vearlden Olmai in the South Sami area. And this name, Vearlden Olmai, is etymologically connected to a name for Freyr that Snorri states as being Veraldar God, which means the god of the world. And Vearlden Olmai means the god of the world, or the man of the world. So there's a clear connection there between the two fertility gods. Now, I have to make it perfectly clear that this is a linguistic connection. This doesn't mean that the Sami peoples adopted Freyr, or that their conception about a fertility god comes from a Germanic context. It is simply just a linguistic connection. And this Vearlden Olmai seems to be connected to the autumn sacrifice, some sources state. And we know also from West Old Norse sources that Freyr was the preferred deity sometimes at the autumn feasts, at the autumn blot. And Vearlden Olmai seems to have something to do with growth of plants and animals, and the reindeer specifically also. So if we look at these motifs, there seems to be very much in common between the Old Norse religion and the Sami religion. We have the world tree or world pillar that in the Sami context is also tied to the fertility god. And this is especially interesting because this blot site that I'm talking about was excavated on a place called the island of Freyr, Frösön. So if we imagine that these two cultures met and mixed in Viking Age Jämtland, these are indications that the participation in a joint sacrificial cult or cultic activity of some kind would have been without friction, so to speak. There are many conceptions and ideas and mythological motifs that are shared and are very similar. So, but we do also have to keep in mind that these sources to Sami religion that I speak of talk about things that happened in the 1600s and 1700s. So we can't just transfer that back to Viking Age Jämtland. But there are still many indicators that point to a religious exchange between the groups being relatively seamless at the time. Yes, so that's it for today, and keep posted on my new videos and keep watching my videos. submit to my channel, share my channel, and feel absolutely free to comment or ask me anything. Thank you.